You know that feeling, that initial rush you get when you start something new?
Oh, yeah, total excitement.
Like a new fitness plan or maybe a creative project, learning an instrument.
Yeah.
You're completely fired up.
Full of energy, ready to go.
And then, well, somewhere along the way, that energy just sort of fizzles out.
It really does. And look, if that sounds familiar to you listening, you are definitely not alone. It's incredibly common.
Right, that initial burst is like easy fuel. But getting across the finish line, that seems to be a whole different game.
It really is. It taps into something deeper, the psychology of actually sticking with something long term.
Exactly. And that's what we're really getting into today. We've been looking at this really interesting story about a young guy, Liam.
His journey is quite telling.
Yeah, it follows him trying to figure out how to actually finish the things he starts. So our mission here is to pull out the lessons from his experience, mix them with some expert insights we found, and we'll give you some real actionable stuff.
Stuff you can actually use to become someone who sees things through consistently.
So just take a second. Have you ever had that project you were super excited about, maybe told everyone about, and then it just kind of stalled out?
Yeah, Liam's story hits home because that starting phase feels so effortless, doesn't it? It's all emotion, the vision of what could be.
It's like planting a seed on a beautiful sunny morning. Feels great, full of possibility.
Optimism. But then comes the watering, day after day.
That's it. And what the material we looked at really underlines is that finishing. Well, it's a different animal entirely. It's less about that initial feeling.
Much less. It's about the sustained effort, the grit, the showing up even when you don't feel like it.
Like watering that seed when it's cloudy or you're tired or you can't even see if anything's growing yet.
And that's the big shift, right? From riding that wave of motivation, which is, let's face it, pretty unreliable,
Really unpredictable.
to actually building discipline. There's that great Jim Rohn quote, motivation gets you started, discipline keeps you going.
It's about developing that inner strength, that psychological muscle to push through when the excitement inevitably fades.
And Liam, initially, he really struggled with this. He'd jump from one thing to the next.
The moment it got hard, or maybe just left shiny and new.
Poof! Enthusiasm gone. And a big reason for that, it seems, was how he set things up at the start, his goals.
Right. They were really broad, weren't they? Things like, I want to get fit, or I want to start a business, maybe I want to learn guitar.
Sounds good on the surface, but that vagueness, it's almost like a trap. It sets you up for failure, in a way.
How so?
Well, think about it like saying you want to explore a huge forest, but you don't have a map, you don't have a compass.
Okay, yeah. You just feel lost immediately.
Exactly. Overwhelmed by all the paths, not knowing which way to even turn. That feeling of overwhelm is a massive barrier to finishing anything.
So the fix is clarity then.
Crystal clarity. The source material really hammers this home. Instead of get fit, something super specific.
Like, I'm going to the gym Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 7 a.m. and I'll work out for 45 minutes.
Precisely. Suddenly you have a clear action. It's much, much harder to put that off compared to the vague idea of getting fit sometime.
It's like building a huge jigsaw puzzle. You don't just stare at the whole mess of pieces.
Right. You look for one edge piece or pieces of a certain color. Small, concrete steps.
And that clarity, that focus on the next small step, that directly helps build discipline, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And that's another key point, this idea that discipline isn't some magical talent you're born with.
Which is good news, because I think a lot of people feel like, oh, I'm just not a disciplined person.
Exactly, but the material we looked at reframes it beautifully. Discipline is like a muscle.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Because muscles can be trained, strengthened.
It's not fixed. Liam's story shows this. He started small, right? Making himself stick to those very specific, manageable tasks. Crucially, even when he didn't feel like it.
That's the key part, the even when.
Totally. And like lifting weights, it's that consistent effort, pushing through that little bit of resistance that builds the muscle over time. Every small win counts.
Even if it feels tiny at the moment.
Yes, they add up. They build this sense of, hey, I actually can do this. Tony Robbins nailed it. It's not what we do once in a while that shapes our lives. It's what we do consistently.
That consistency. It often means stepping outside your comfort zone, though, doesn't it?
Almost always. If it feels easy all the time, you're probably not growing much.
So that feeling of difficulty or that little voice saying, ooh, this is hard, maybe I should stop, that's not necessarily a bad sign.
Quite the opposite. Often, it can be a sign you're right at the edge of your current capabilities, which is exactly where growth happens. Think about the gym again. Muscles grow when they're stressed, when they're challenged.
Right, you need that strain.
Liam actually came up with a simple rule for himself. If it's hard, it's probably worth it.
That's a powerful reframe,
Yeah.
turning the red flag into like a green light for growth.
Exactly. Difficulty becomes an indicator you're stretching yourself, developing.
Okay, and another big trap Liam fell into, and I think many of us do, is waiting for motivation to strike.
Oh, the I'll do it when I feel like it syndrome. Yeah, it's common.
We wait for that perfect mood, that bolt of inspiration.
But motivation, as the source points out, is like the weather. It's completely unreliable. Some days it's sunny, other days, not so much.
You can't plan your life around hoping for sunny weather every day.
There's a great analogy in there about a farmer. If the farmer only planted seeds when they felt perfectly motivated and inspired, well, they wouldn't get much of a harvest, would they?
Probably not. So the key is just start, act first.
Act first, even if it's small, even if you don't feel like it. And the funny thing is, often the motivation follows the action.
Like jump-starting a car, you need that initial crank to get the engine going.
You got it. And this leads straight into the power of habits and routines. Brian Tracy said, "Successful people are simply those with successful habits."
So instead of relying on motivation or even willpower, which feels like it runs out.
It does. Willpower is definitely a finite resource. You can't white-knuckle your way through everything.
You build routines to automate things.
Yes, take the decision-making out of it as much as possible. Look at Liam scheduling his workouts, his guitar practice. It wasn't a daily debate, should I, shouldn't I?
It just became, this is what I do at this time.
Like brushing your teeth, you don't really debate it, you just do it. It's ingrained. That conserves your mental energy.
Okay, so you have routines, but some goals still feel huge, overwhelming. How do you get started with those?
Micro wins, that's the strategy. Break that massive, scary goal down into the smallest possible steps.
So instead of write a book,
It's write 100 words today, or even open the document and write one sentence.
or instead of get super fit,
It's do 10 push-ups right now, something you almost can't say no to.
that makes it feel instantly less daunting, more manageable.
And each tiny win gives you that little dopamine hit, that feeling of accomplishment.
Which builds confidence.
Exactly.
Yeah. And momentum. It's like pushing a giant rock, right? Getting it moving initially is the hardest part. But once it's rolling, even slightly,
It gets easier to keep it going.
you got it. Now, Liam also had to battle what the source calls the 4 silent enemies of finishing.
Ooh, sounds ominous. What are they?
Overwhelm, vagueness, which we've touched on, but also impatience and excuses.
Yes. Impatience. Wanting results yesterday. And excuses. Our brains are so good at manufacturing those.
Aren't they just, I'm too tired, I don't have time, I'll start tomorrow. We've all heard them.
So how did Liam deal with these? What was his secret weapon?
Awareness, actually. Just recognizing those feelings and thoughts as the enemies, seeing impatience rise up, noticing the excuse forming.
Just noticing it is the first step.
It's huge, because then you can consciously choose not to act on it. So feeling overwhelmed, break the task down even smaller, feeling vague, clarify the very next action, feeling impatient, remind yourself it's a marathon, not a sprint, hearing excuses.
Act anyway. Just act anyway. Take one small step despite the excuse. It really disarms them.
That feels powerful, just cutting through the mental noise.
And related to that is the trap of perfectionism.
Oh boy, that's a big one for a lot of people. Feeling like it has to be perfect or it's not worth doing.
Right. Which can stop you from even starting. Or you start, hit one small snag, and because it's not perfect, you just abandon the whole thing.
It's paralyzing.
The source uses the analogy of a baby learning to walk. Think about it. They fall down constantly,
All the time.
but they don't analyze the fall, critique their form, and decide walking isn't for them because they weren't perfect on the first try.
No, they just kind of wobble back up and try again.
Exactly. They stumble, they learn, they adjust. Liam adopted this mantra. Done is better than perfect.
I like that. Focus on progress, not perfection.
Just show up. Put in the reps, even if it's messy sometimes. Consistent, imperfect action beats sporadic, perfect planning every time.
And all of this, the small steps, the consistency, getting it, done it, feeds into something really fundamental that Liam discovered, didn't it? His identity.
Yes, this was a huge turning point. Shifting his self-perception to seeing himself as someone who finishes things.
How does that work? How does just thinking you're a finisher help?
Because our identity drives our behavior. If you genuinely believe deep down, I am the kind of person who follows through, you'll naturally start acting in ways that align with that belief.
It's like you subconsciously look for ways to prove yourself right.
Precisely. It's like wearing an invisible name tag that says, "Hi, I'm a finisher." Liam started consciously reinforcing this after completing even tiny tasks. He'd actually say to himself, "See, I am the kind of person who finishes what I start."
Wow. So it's not just doing the thing, it's layering that belief on top of it.
The source kind of sums it up. Systems beat willpower. Small wins build momentum. Progress beats perfection. And ultimately, your identity drives your behavior. You have to decide to believe you're a finisher.
Which involves winning that secret battle in your head,
Yeah.
right? The self-talk.
Absolutely critical. We all have that inner critic, don't we? That voice that pipes up with,
You're not good enough. You'll probably fail anyway. Who do you think you are trying this?
exactly. Those negative thoughts can completely sabotage you if you let them run wild. It's like tending a garden. Are you watering the weeds or the flowers?
Good analogy. So you have to consciously cultivate positive self-talk.
You have to become your own coach, not your own critic. Think about how you'd encourage a kid learning to ride a bike. You wouldn't yell at them for wobbling, right?
No, you'd say, you got this. Keep trying. Almost there.
Exactly. So Liam learned to talk to himself like that, replacing "this is too hard" with "one step at a time," swapping "I messed up" for "okay, what did I learn?" Affirming "I'm proud of my effort," and reinforcing "I finish what I start."
And those thoughts, repeated often enough, they start to shape your reality, like that Joe Dispenza idea.
Yeah.
You're not just hardwired.
Right. Your thoughts literally begin to rewire your brain. You're actively programming yourself for success or failure, depending on that internal dialogue.
Okay, so you manage the inner critic. What about that feeling of resistance? That, oh, I really don't want to do this right now feeling.
Instead of seeing it as a stop sign, the idea is to reframe it as like a progress indicator.
How so?
Think of a rocket launching. When does it face the most resistance?
Right, at takeoff, fighting gravity.
Exactly. That resistance is a sign it's actually generating immense power and moving upward. When you feel that internal resistance to doing the work, it often means you're pushing against your limits. You're on the verge of growth.
So Liam started to almost welcome it.
Yeah, or at least recognize it. He shifted his view so that those moments of "this feels hard" weren't reasons to quit, but actually the moments that mattered most. That's where the strength was being built.
Okay, that makes sense. But what about actual failure? Not just feeling like quitting, but trying something and it doesn't work out. That fear holds so many people back.
It's huge. But the material had this great little story about a guy, Mr. Harris.
Yeah? What did he do?
He actually made it a goal to try and fail at something small each week.
Seriously? He tried to fail.
Well, the point wasn't the failure itself, but to get comfortable with attempting things where failure was possible. It normalized it, took away its sting. It became about making the attempt, learning from it, rather than fearing the outcome.
So it reframes failure as just data, feedback, proof you're actually in the game.
Exactly. It means you're trying, you're pushing boundaries. The reality is, people who achieve a lot often have way more failures under their belt than people who barely try anything. They just learn not to let failure stop them.
Okay, that's a helpful perspective.
Yeah.
What else? Any other tools Liam used?
Visualization came up, actually picturing success.
Like mentally rehearsing?
Liam would take time to vividly imagine himself completing the project, crossing that finish line, feeling that sense of accomplishment.
Athletes do this all the time, right?
Yeah.
Visualizing the perfect shot, winning the race.
Exactly. It primes your brain, builds belief, makes the outcome feel more real and attainable. It's like creating a mental roadmap to where you want to go.
Okay, so we have mannering self-talk, reframing resistance, learning from failure, visualization. Seems like a good toolkit. But what holds it all together?
One final piece, maybe the most crucial: commitment.
Just deciding you're going to finish no matter what.
Pretty much, that unwavering decision. The source material argues it's actually more powerful than talent, luck, even motivation on any given day.
How come?
Because true commitment cuts through everything else. When you are fully committed, the excuses lose their power, the distractions fade, the option of quitting just isn't really on the table anymore.
It simplifies things. It's not if, it's how.
Exactly. It becomes about persistent forward movement. Even if it's slow, even if it's uncomfortable, you just keep keep putting one foot in front of the other because you've committed to reaching the destination.
And the reward ultimately isn't just the finished project or the achieved goal.
No, as Liam discovered, the real reward is who you become in the process. The self-trust you build. The realization that you're someone who honors the promises you make to yourself.
Wow, that's deep. So wrapping up then, it's this whole journey, isn't it? Mastering your inner game, your self-talk,
Leaning into that resistance, seeing it as growth,
learning from setbacks instead of being derailed by them,
using visualization to pull you forward.
and underpinning it all with genuine, unwavering commitment.
It really is a transformative path. It's not just about ticking boxes. It's about building that fundamental self-trust.
Understanding that the road from starting to finishing is, rarely straight or easy.
But navigating those curves and bumps is where you forge that finisher identity.
So, a final thought for you listening. What's one thing, maybe something small, maybe something that's been lingering? What will you commit to finishing? And maybe more importantly, who will you become by seeing it through?
That's definitely something to chew on.
Thanks for taking this deep dive with us today.